And so here's WordPress. It'll probably show up in the top applications. You just click on that and you hit install. As you can see, I've already installed this for this project in this scenario. So today we're specifically looking at the two different types of editor in WordPress. One is the classic editor that it started out with, and one of them is the new editor or block editor, Gutenberg editor, however you know it or like to reference it as. We're going to go through and help this company decide whether they should move to the new block editor or stay with the classic editor. So here's the pages on this website for the company. The company is Soaps R Us, as you can see up here. And so the page that we're going to be looking at specifically for this is reviews. It has, a couple blocks of text, a couple pictures. It's a good overall explanation of each editor. So first we're going to be looking at the classic editor. So this is a classic editor. Looks very similar to if anybody has ever used GravCMS, kind of just a text box with a couple basic text alignment things. You can insert some pictures here. This doesn't have the markdown ability that GravCMS does. That's one big issue with the classic editor. The only other thing is that it's very, people know how to use it. People are used to it. But when you move to the Gutenberg or the block editor, this is what it looks like. Now, a lot of people don't like the way this looks because it appears as if you're editing the actual page, and there's not very much guidance. It's kind of just blank. You kind of just have to click in here to start writing. So each writing or each image is served in a block. So these are two blocks. This is a block of text, and then this image is in a block. Now the one thing that you can do in this one that is a little bit better, if you click on an image, you can kind of move it up and down throughout the different blocks. Whereas this one, it's kind of you kind of have to click and drag. You never know when it's going to end up. You could end up right in the middle of there. It's a little bit harder because there's not set blocks. So that's one thing that is a little bit harder with the classic editor. So you can place images, where you want them specifically, and exactly where they're going to go. If you click these arrows, they're going to go up and down one block at a time. It's very predictable, very easy to use. And one thing you can also do is do full width images. So you can, extend this all the way out, or you can then extend this even smaller. You can make them as big as you want on your website. And then one of the best things about this new editor is if I scroll down to a block, you can actually do what's called shortcode. So instead of unlike Grav, like Grav, and unlike the classic, you don't need a plugin to use shortcode, and you just click this shortcode, and then you can write in a line of code. So if you want to do, say, put in a shopping cart, you can do this. You can do shopping cart, and you want to put the brackets around it, and that should generate a shopping cart, or you can do it with an add to cart button. Either way, it's a lot easier way of doing things. When you want to add code, you want to code something in, code a feature in. This also reduces the amount of plugins that you need, so it's it cleans it up a little bit, less applications that you have to mess around with. You can also change the page layout. It's kind of nice for the Gutenberg editor, as you can see how the page is going to look, being as this is very close to the actual page, whereas this, it kind of doesn't really give you an idea of what the page is going to look like. It kind of just puts everything in a text box, and you kind of have to experiment with what it's going to look like. Now there are a couple different cons of this new block editor. One of them is being, each element has to be placed in its own block. As you can see here, you can't just kind of move them around freely, which is a little bit of a downside. But for example, this you can't move images to the right or left either. You can move them up and down, you can indent them, but you can do that over here as well. So it kind of just doesn't really change the functionality. It kind of just changes the layout and how it looks when you're actually doing it. The new editor, it might cause some conflicts with any plugins that you have, being as it's a newer updated editor that you might not need certain plugins with. So it might cause some issues regarding that. And I think the biggest con is learning curve. Now, for this company, Soaps R Us, we're looking at, should they be using this new editor? Should they take the leap and start that learning curve of relearning this? And I think they should. Now, with any technology or anything that you do that's new, there's going to be a learning curve. And if you don't jump and do that learning curve right away, or if you don't do it eventually or at all, you're going to fall behind, and your company's technology and your website they're going to struggle, and they're going to take the hit for you not taking that learning curve. So we can look at this website. So we can view the site. So this is what it kind of looks like. Here's a blog on the front. We have an hour, the hour section, the location of the website, some reviews that have already been placed about the products, and then we have the shop, which is the most important part. Here's a couple examples, and if we click on one and we hit add to cart and we go to cart, it adds it to your cart. It's a fairly simple website, and this was made mostly using Gutenberg and a classic for a couple of the pages, but overall I think this might look daunting for Soaps R Us and their developers, but I think it'll be a good switch to this editor. It might, the big idea is that it has to be in blocks, so you can just click on there and it'll create a new block, and then after you're done typing, so if you type Soaps R Us is amazing, if you want to go to a different block, just hit enter and it creates a different block. It seems very daunting just because it's a new technology, but I think once they take that learning curve, once they take that jump, I think they'll definitely agree that it was the right move. So that's it for this week. I'll put the link to this website in the description of the video, and hope you guys join me back here next week.